Prime Minister, welcome to New Zealand and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. I'm happy to be back here in New Zealand, land of the long white clouds.
Very good. You're here to sign a refreshed statement of partnership with New Zealand. Why does Papua New Guinea's relationship with New Zealand matter?
Well, New Zealand has been with us since day one, amongst the 9 foundational countries that have a strong bilateral relationship with us up till today. But not just amongst the 9, very close Pacific Island family member country. It is important in that context. We belong to the Pacific family.
This year marks 50 years since Papua New Guinea's independence. Despite your country's vast minerals, Papua New Guinea still has significant problems with safety and security, corruption. 40% of your population lives in poverty. What's holding Papua New Guinea back?
Well, Papua New Guinea is the most diverse nation on planet Earth. 50 years may seem like a lifetime. It is a lifetime, but it is short in the context of where we came from. A nation of so much diversity in a land size that is even bigger than New Zealand for context. Our 462,840 square kilometers of land is about 100 or 200,000 square kilometers bigger than New Zealand. A land size bigger than Japan, bigger than UK. You have 1 or 2 languages here. Japan's got 1 language. UK's got 1 language. You have contact with civilization over 200, 300, 400 years. It's 50 years of contact, starting with the economic base of $1 billion US dollar for a longer time, in the 21st, 27 years of our life. Bougainville crisis, global financial crisis exposure, minimal export base. From where we started off, 50 years of maintaining democracy is not bad, but there's still more room for improvement. Our many cluster our mineral wealth in the context of them being sufficient to fix all our country's need, in the context of our population, in the context of our geography. That mineral wealth conversion to actual dollars or kina for our development has been minimal in the context of our vast need. So there we go. Needs are big, resources small, expectations are also big. Our population is bigger. Population has been growing above economic growth the last 50 years, and so my government took office in 2019 with a concerted effort to grow the economy first and foremost, so that we can have the basket to feed a growing population.
Your region is the subject of intensifying geostrategic competition. You recently signed a deal with Australia worth $600 million that will see Papua New Guinea get a team in the NRL. Most analysts interpreted the deal as a measure to block China's strategic aspirations in the Pacific. Does China need to be contained?
Not necessarily. China and Papua New Guinea, and likewise China and New Zealand, China and USA, China and Australia have also strategic relationship in the context of economy. We have economic relationship as well as we have other aspects of foreign relations. Australia, New Zealand, USA, and the West are strategic political partners for us. They've been government-to-government partners for so long. But with the East, we have strategic government-to-business, business-to-business relationship. So those aspects of relationship differ, whilst at the face of it, there's a nation-to-nation relationship, but below that, you have different aspects of relationship. And we maintain those aspects of relationship with China that is healthy and beneficial for PNG, especially in the space of business and commerce, but we will not compromise other aspects of relationship elsewhere.
You haven't released the full detail of that deal yet. Do you accept that that deal, from a security perspective, is designed to contain China's aspirations in your region?
Not necessarily, Jack. The agreement with the Australian Rugby League is totally isolated from any security relationship. Although government to government, we have an understanding that security relations we relate with Australia, especially for our police. And so that relationship doesn't compromise our other bilateral aspects of our relationship with China, for instance. The Rugby League bid we had with the National Rugby League was a strategy to unite our country, a country that is passionate about rugby league. At least one sport, a team can galvanize the diversity we have into one focus. And part of our strategy beyond 50th year We felt rugby league will play a bigger role in uniting our country. Of course, uniting our country has also security implications, meaning people are settled into one focus, lawlessness is contained, and we've attached our rugby league aspirations with settling our people, uniting our people. And Australia has stepped in also in offering help to police in that context. That is another aspect of a bilateral relationship, and we have that been ongoing for some time. We're expanding that into context.
You said that the deal isn't designed to contain China, but from what has been made public about it, there is an escape clause by which Australia can immediately pull out if Papua New Guinea signs a security or policing deal with China. Is a rugby league team worth compromising your country's right to choose its own diplomatic path over?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. We don't have any security, or deeper security relations with China or other nations for that matter. Australia is close to us, shared borders, shared security interests. Our borders are very, very close. The closest from PNG mainland to Australian island is about a kilometer. And so the necessary need for us to have a deeper police relationship is there. And in that context, Australia is a security partner of choice in as far as policy is concerned.
2 years ago, you signed a defence deal with the US worth about US $1 billion. Under the new administration, the US has put tariffs on its allies and brought the future of NATO into question. Can countries like Papua New Guinea trust America right now?
Relationship with USA is much deeper than relations with an administration of USA. It's intrinsic, it's value-based, and so it goes beyond a 4-year term of our president. And we don't associate PNG with USA based on our administration's ideology or worldview.
Canada might have said the same thing a few months ago.
Canada has its close proximity interest and right and to discuss at their own level from the bilateral context. PNG, Australia, PNG hardly trades with, I beg your pardon, with USA. We have minimal trade relations with USA. We have not been dependent on USA aid for much part of our 50 years. We trade elsewhere, and so we're sufficiently covered in as far as our trade relations is concerned.
Given our country's peacekeeping history, New Zealand has a keen interest in the future of Bougainville. As Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, do you support Bougainville independence? There's a process
that will facilitate the peace process. Bougainville have voted for independence, but independence was not the only issue in 2001 when the peace agreement was signed. I want to thank New Zealand government then and up till today for forever standing with Papua New Guinea in aspirations to bring forever peace in Bougainville. And peace in Bougainville also includes looking into the option of independence they exercise during the vote. So there's a process that is running, including the result coming to Parliament. I cannot preempt the outcome of the process. Parliament will have a handle on this matter. At the moment, we're going through consultation that is allowed by PNG Constitution and the Bougainville Peace Agreement. So when the process is retired with, then I'm at a place to comment.
I appreciate there is a process, but as leader of your country, you must have a personal position. In principle, do you support the right of Bougainville's people to choose their future path, to choose independence?
I have a duty to defend Section 2 of my Constitution, and that is the sovereignty established in 1975.
Which is to say you don't support Bougainville independence, in principle?
You necessarily don't have to put words into my mouth.
Well, what does that mean? If you have a duty to uphold Section 2 of your Constitution, which is sovereignty in your view, how should we interpret that when it comes to the independence issue for Bougainville?
Respectfully, as I did indicate, the process is running its course. I'm the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, and I'm entitled to reserve my opinions.
In 2019, in accordance with the Bougainville Peace Agreement that you referenced, Bougainville residents overwhelmingly, comprehensively voted in support of independence. So far, your Parliament has refused to table the results, and the impasse, as you mentioned, is subject of mediation by Sajiri Mataparai. Just give us your side of that. Why has Parliament so far refused to table those results?
I don't think Parliament has been provided with the opportunity to deal with the result as yet. It hasn't been brought to Parliament. The referendum result is still with the government of Papua New Guinea and the autonomous government of Bougainville. We're going through the phase of the process that is allowed by the Constitution. Section 342, subsection 1 of the Constitution allows for consultation. That is the process we're going through. That is the process in which Seth Jerry has been brought in to moderate on. Is currently moderating on the steps that will take place to usher in the results into Parliament. So Parliament hasn't been given the opportunity to have a handle on the matter as yet.
Do you feel that that process is helping you to progress? Are you making progress through that consultation?
That is part of the process. So Bougainville leadership appreciated that process must be deployed. They may be as part of the process running as Melanesian people. We may find a solution elsewhere. That is also part of the process.
You said recently that Bougainville must have economic independence before it can have political independence. The Panguna mine still has copper and gold deposits worth as much as $90 billion, according to some estimates. Would that not provide sufficient economic independence?
That is a matter for Bougainvilleans to decide themselves. And at the moment, as I speak, all functional and power autonomy devolved to them, including economic powers. And so until Panguna is up and running and producing revenue for Bougainville, as stand today, 5% of the current expenditure in Bougainville is raised from Bougainville. So it's healthier for them to raise a revenue threshold at least about 50%, if not about 70%, to sustain their current expenditure threshold.
You've talked about the process and needing to follow the different steps in the process. So Bougainville's leaders say they want independence by September 1st, 2027 at the absolute latest. Given what you understand about the process, do you think it's possible?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
That date is possible?
Anything is possible. I can't preempt the outcome of the moderation and the process that is running. We are in 2025. So a time period in 2026 until 2027. Again, Parliament is bigger than James Marape. Parliament decides. The Parliament have a mindset of its own.
If Bougainville were to have independence, do you think that would trigger other independence movements within Papua New Guinea?
We have, we are a nation of so much diversity, the most diverse nation on planet Earth. And so it's not Bougainville versus PNG, a color versus another color, a language versus another language. It's a series of a set of languages in Bougainville versus over 800 languages in Papua New Guinea, all having their own traditional governance and worldview. 50 years ago, we were isolated from each other. Today, we are a conglomerate of tribes into one sovereignty. And so in that context, the 20 other provinces exist in our country. They're not showing much sign of restlessness in terms of detachment from our nationhood, but provinces are crying out for autonomy. Bougainvilles have been pace setters prior to 1975. They want to be on their own. The provincial government systems we have today was introduced at the backdrop of Bougainville's cry for independence. Mind you, the September 1st date was September 1st date in 1975 when they declared unilateral independence. That's 15 days prior to our national independence. As a compromise, provincial government was brought into existence in Papua New Guinea. And we have 21 provinces today, and Bougainville as a special region. And so I can't disillusion myself from the fact that extend possibility into time, into the future. Other parts of our country may see Bougainville setting pace. And one thing many forget is that at the barrel of a gun, the quest for peace was brought in. And so we have so much prevalence of gun also in other parts of our country. Other parts of our country can, fight with the national government and then said, all right, let's truce, have peace, and part of that could be referendum for independence. That is a dangerous precedent in a nation of so much diversity. So as Prime Minister today, my due care is not just to the present, but also to the future. So we work this path diligently. In the time between now and when we're dealing with the rest of Bougainville, we're trying to entrench the rest of our country into absolute clarity in law that no one must talk about autonomy and move to independence at the same breath.
You mentioned that peace was ultimately achieved having had so many of the people in your country facing the barrel of a gun. Is there any foreseeable scenario in which you would support the use of military force in Bougainville?
We will put into law in our constitution that never again into the future will PNG defense step into Bougainville. Never again will PNG police step into Bougainville. And that leaves my concern for Bougainville open. Whilst PNG police and PNG defense will not step into Bougainville, what will happen if lawlessness re-emerges in Bougainville? In the Bougainville crisis, we had fractures also. A society that was equally divided between, for instance, the Bougainville Revolution Army and the Bougainville resistance fighters. The generation of children of those factions still remain today. And so as part of my bigger scheme of things in the concern over Bougainville, there's a concern running into that space. What happens if lawlessness emerges into time? Because PNG defense and PNG police will never step into Bougainville ever again. Scars are too big. We don't want that scar to reopen again.
I know another region or independence movement you are sometimes asked to comment on is the future of West Papua. In your view, has Indonesia breached human rights in West Papua?
I'm not in a place to comment on. United Nations has been asked to look into that concern of human rights abuse in West Papua and Indonesia.
Other Pacific nations such as Vanuatu have strongly supported West Papua's cause. Given you share a landmass, why isn't Papua New Guinea taking a stronger position when it comes to West Papua independence?
We have affinity, we have several concerns, but at the moment they're part of Indonesian sovereignty. Sovereignty matters belongs to Indonesia. We have our own sovereignty. The defense of our sovereignty is as important as talking about the greater Melanesia.
Papua New Guinea is part of the RSE seasonal worker scheme here in New Zealand. From your perspective, what are the upsides and the downsides of that program?
Well, in my view, no negatives for us. We have more personnel to deploy to New Zealand if ever New Zealand needs more workers. Papua New Guinea has abundance of youthful population. We want to send educated youths down, those who are educated up to year 12. So when they're working here, they could also be, we find spaces for them to study here in New Zealand, into especially skilled areas where New Zealand will need, as well as PNG needs. And it's a long-term investment in our view for not just sending casual, temporary, part-time workers, but sending our youths who can come work and also study here, work here in skilled work areas, as well as bring them back home to utilize their skills. So for us, no downsides. It's a space that we can utilize to send many of our youths who are unengaged back home, work here, study here, possibly work again after study, or if not, come back home with additional skills.
Are you open to expanding the scheme, to sending more people?
We have the luxury of population. Well, some other Pacific Island nations, they're sending it from a smaller pool of population, 100,000, 30,000 people, 40,000 people. We have 10 million people. Of the 10 million, about 6 million are youthful Papua New Guineans, and we can easily afford 5,000, 10,000 workforce to come down here. You
lead a government which, as you've mentioned, oversees one of the most diverse and incredible countries on earth, incredible landscapes, 830 languages, diverse tribes. What don't people in other countries understand about Papua New Guinea?
Good people. Good people.
We know that.
Intrinsically deep inside, you come in, you go to the villages, it's far, far different from the headlines you read overseas. It's what they encourage everyone. Come out there, people care, people love, people share, people tolerate, even in the midst of their own situations. They do reach out for visitors amongst them.
And as leader of Papua New Guinea, what is your vision? When you leave office, whenever that is, what would you like Papua New Guinea to look like?
A better country than what I inherited from, a better country, where health, education, is available to people. People are economically empowered, and lawlessness is no more.